We are pleased to welcome Sergey Streltsov. He is the head of content for Yoola. He will tell us about releasing producer projects in 2017. Let's welcome Sergey. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for making it here, and thanks for coming to my presentation. I would like to say a few words about multi-channel networks. It's a content aggregate system. We have thousands of YouTube channels, and there are over 700 million subscribers in total. The monthly traffic totals 8 billion views. We cooperate with video bloggers, and we ourselves are leaning towards creating content, and this is probably what we will be talking about today. First of all, I would like to start out with a quote. Vladimir Mayakovsky in 1914 wrote these words, and they remain relevant today for any project. If a project is launched, then somebody needs it to be launched. And somebody does want to call this nothing a gem. So let's talk about releasing producer projects in 2017. The main questions that any reasonable person will ask himself is the following. Does anybody need this at all? And there are three aspects to this answer: the investor, the producer, and the public. The total of these people, the composition of these people, represents what the project will look like. If we're creating a project for an investor, we're going to get one project. If we're working for a producer, then we'll get a different project. And if we are focusing on the public, then we'll get a different project, not the one that the investor wanted nor the producer, but a completely different result. And when we come to implementing, to trying to create this gem, we only have two choices of creating it with what we have or with getting a huge budget for it. When we talk about YouTube, it's better to focus on the budget right off and not to inflate budgets. You should have the patience, and this will allow you to limit your budget. This is exactly what the other participants of the market are doing. They're video bloggers. They don't have the money for production. So if in 2017 you did make the decision to launch your own project in YouTube, the only thing you should know is what the situation is on the platform today. From 2015 to 2017, YouTube has come a long way. You can even see it in the logo. This site evolved. It used to be just a channel where you could watch videos, and now it is the place to go for video on the internet. Let's take a look at the projects that have already been launched so that we could draw some conclusions. There are special projects involving bloggers. There are special projects with bloggers on blogger channels. There is a long-running project of a blogger featuring a blogger in a brand. There are attempts on creating a blogger for a brand, for a product, a collaboration bloggers project, a 360 video for a blogger, a pop singer blogs, a series of videos with a blogger, memes, more series with bloggers, and more series with bloggers and actors. And there have even been reality shows with bloggers. This means that anything is possible, and it all has been done. It all has been released. So what do we do now? It runs like a refrain to a video of Ivan Guy. It was filmed abroad and had a very large budget, probably the biggest budget in the history of Russian YouTube. So we've done things on a low budget, on a medium budget, on a huge budget, but in total, all of these projects were advertisement projects. They weren't creating content per se. They had different tasks. Their purpose was to get your money, to get more views, to get more subscribers, get media support using this organic blogger support. But subscribers of these projects come for different reasons, and we will talk about projects, producing projects, such as Versus, Big Russian Boss, Drushko Show, and God forbid, projects like that. So when you go on YouTube, you, like any author, have endless freedom. The ideas that you can make come to life on YouTube are unlimited. They're only limited by your imagination and your budget. But let's, just to make things simpler, let's take an option where you just have two options. It's 50-50. 50% you have a budget or you don't have a budget. It doesn't matter, as I said in the beginning, whether you have a budget or don't have a budget, your motivation as a producer should be focused on the public. This is your priority, the public. Right now, the time of hype is past. And the content that we have seen on Drushko Show, Kolya Sobolev, and other channels that have their own custom content, and we have to understand that the internal ideology of the projects has to be broader than the situational hype that exists. So let's take a look at the ideas which exist on the platform today. I won't list all of the criteria, but let's take the main ones. This is for real. This is the main thing you have to take away when you're entering a project. The public will know that this is not something temporary that will go away, that this is not something you managed to make out of what you had. This is a scalable idea. It won't come to an end tomorrow. And it should be something that can be realized easily, that can be made come to life. And the person who will be paying for that should understand your goals. When the public understands that these guys are motivated to doing something well, to work for the long term, then they're willing to subscribe. And this is what matters for you as a producer. You need to give them a vision. You need to make them understand what they will see tomorrow. The main thing you want to get is attention. There is a lot of content on YouTube right now. It's not just competition, it's super competition. But having said that, there is not that much good content. So you do have a choice, an opportunity of becoming, of reaching a niche. So you can create something that hasn't been done before. But it's practically impossible right now. You do have to realize that. If you can do that, great. But basically, you will have to realize that you probably will not be able to create an original idea. But there is another option. Do something that has been done before, but do it better. Do it differently. Make it more interactive. And this will look like, this will seem like an original idea. It will be of a higher quality. So the output is quality content. The public is hungry for that. So many bloggers are making content of the same type. It's exactly the same. And even though they're getting a lot of views, this just means that the public is inert. But despite that, it does require quality, and this is the time to release producer projects which represent your interests. Give the public something they haven't seen before that, and it needs to be interactive. The internet public consumes content. It doesn't really want to produce anything. It's the easiest just to watch. But even though the public likes to watch, it also likes to comment because it's possible. There is feedback. I can write a comment. So if something interested me, then I will comment or I will somehow influence the content. I can like or dislike a video. There are different opportunities to communicate on different platforms. So your main platform might be YouTube, but you will have satellites and other social media. Even on messengers, they become part of the infrastructure. So the public wants to influence the content, and it's important for the public. You, as the producer, have to take this need into consideration. There is a lot of criticism, there's a lot of negative things on YouTube. It's a very negative environment. The public will tell you everything you've done wrong, even if you haven't done anything wrong, but your viewers will share their opinion. And this has to do with their desire to influence the content. But if you have a feeling that your idea is good, that you can implement it well, that's not enough. You have to grow. If everything is fine right now, you have to think a step ahead. You have to think about what you will change so that the audience doesn't get used to it, just so people don't think you've gotten lazy. If you found something, then you have to keep going. It's a cycle. Everything you do with integrity. It's not easy to do it. There's such a thing as community. If somebody knows this guy, it's Konstantin Zaruski. He just made a really open video about how he dropped an X5. It was totally real. It's not fake. And there's a lot of things like that. And the community punishes for things like that. There's so many dislikes for projects like that. There was a similar thing on another channel. It was a reaction to the creator, to some of the things that he showed, the creator Amiran, and the public reacted very negatively, and they wanted to influence his actions. And he did, in a way, change his approach to content. This is great. You have to understand what I already said. Hype comes and goes. But now, more and more, YouTube is leaning towards reporting, journalism. Let's just take a look at what's going on around the project Nimagia, not magic, and its conflict with the bank Tinkoff. And a lot of bloggers have their own opinion about this conflict. When you don't check the facts that you present, when you present your own opinion, even though it may be very exciting, it will contribute to exponential growth of subscribers because it's easy to attract the public with some criticism. Having said that, when you aim to create a long-term project, you need to earn the trust of the viewers. So, journalism, direction, and production will replace hype. These things will be the foundations of your project. There will be a person who prepares the content and the person who creates the content. And overall, this is content. When you choose the format of your project, you can experiment. This concerns game projects as well. There's this YouTuber, he's pretty unorthodox. He did a lot of videos about Dota. He was on the sidelines for a long time, and he decided that his content wasn't good enough. He remains anonymous, he doesn't show his face, he just does Let's Play, and he does these humorous comments. It's pretty unique. I like it. I like some of the things that he does. He does educational videos. There's this show called Slivki Show, which gives a lot of information, and then there are Let's Play videos, which just show players playing a game, and he gives educational content. He publishes information in his own way. He curses, yeah, but his public likes it. He likes it. The public likes it more than if he would just comment some story. So this is one way you can make your traditional content more interesting. There's another YouTuber called Mr. Marmot. He has over 3 million subscribers, and his content is based not only on showing games, but on using bugs. So, for example, you're going through a wall, or a security guard shoots you and he misses, and he makes hilarious comments about that. It seems like this is a pretty mundane nowadays genre, let's play, but you can find new ways to implement that. As soon as you begin implementing projects, you run into problems, and the main problem is a lack of trust. The investor wants security guarantees, but success is impossible to predict. If any of you have tried to launch internet projects, then you know that it's extremely difficult to predict how quickly the project will grow. It's so individual for each and every project. The capacity of the target audience, you may have thought it was 1 million, but apparently it doesn't exist on YouTube. This could happen. And that same project that I mentioned, Dnevnik Kacha, it stumbled into the same problem because there was just not enough adult subscribers. And even if they did watch the content, they never subscribed. They just sent these videos to each other, they searched for these videos, but they never subscribed. All in all, it's impossible to predict results. So this makes you experiment, figure things out empirically by doing. So if you're an investor, if you're a producer, you have to understand that in due time, you will be able to evaluate using sources of traffic and growth rates. You will be able to evaluate the project. Even if at some point you made the wrong forecast, you still have to realize that you're talking about people who change their mind. But before you just begin to pool your audience, your public, you have to create your content. So let's imagine that your project is confirmed. The idea is awesome. Your team is fantastic. The client is reasonable. Everybody is great. Everybody is on the same page, and they're ready to go ahead with the plan. You outlined the next steps. But the next problem you run into is allocating different tasks. So there is the investor, somebody who is involved in production, then there's other people, and this leads to a conflict where one person does everything and another person does nothing. This may seem obvious, but people don't always understand what roles correspond to what needs. And you can solve this only by saying what is each and every person responsible for. And this will positively influence motivation. But even if somebody is doing nothing, this will lead to a conflict. This can be avoided And for long-term projects, it's difficult to maintain motivation. Everybody talks about motivation. I talked to a few speakers just now, and almost every person I spoke to has a problem motivating their team. In our case, we solve this problem by giving people freedom. So we have a creator, he has a certain degree of freedom, and nobody in the team can influence what the creator does. And the same goes for the other people in the team. So the only way to overcome the lack of motivation is to not bother this person when they're doing their job. You just have to understand that you're working with professionals. Don't tell them what to do. When expectations are too high, this can also lead to conflicts in the team. We're talking about a project, not a one-time thing. And in these projects, it takes a long time to see the results. And you may not even see these results, but it will take you a long time. Over this time, you see that the investor is interested in spending less money. They want to see the results from you, but they don't want to give you money. And this leads to a lot of challenges in releasing projects. And when the team realizes that the problem ran into obstacles, then someone may want to leave, and this cannot happen. You have to keep track of the team. You can't think that just because you're a producer, you can just overlook the main parts of the project. You have to work together. This won't lead to anything good, but if it does lead to a positive result, then there is another problem because everybody thinks that they contributed to the success. The same thing happens in music bands. You can't talk about just one person when you're talking about the band in general. So when you think that the drummer does nothing, no, it's not true. In some cases, the drummer is the key person for overcoming some problems. Same thing goes for YouTube. It's great that you as a producer chose this creator, and it's great that the investor chose you and trusted you with this project, and it's fantastic that the investor has enough money. It's not like somebody just creates these projects and pays for them. So now let's say that you're on the same page and you have a pilot. The first thing that you need to do is to get feedback from the audience. When you're getting the project ready, it's only in your head. And it's not necessarily something that will be the final thing that the audience needs. So maybe your audience doesn't like something in the pilot, and you can correct some things before you have created 10 videos. When you are creating a pilot of the project, test it, get feedback, be flexible because it's YouTube. It's not the film industry, it's not even television. Everything is centered on being open towards the audience and considering their preferences. So you continue production and you try finding new ways to approach the audience. And if you succeeded, this is also a problem because you will have to continue working on this project. You think, great, everybody loves the first episode, everybody's excited, but then you have to keep going and it will turn into routine. You need to surprise people. Like I said, the audience in YouTube is very aggressive. It won't forgive you for reducing the quality of your content. As you develop this channel, this project, Every team member will get will have their points of views, and they will form coalitions. So, for example, the author will face off the producer and the investor. Or, for example, the investor tells everyone what to do. And this is totally wrong, but this happens. Keep this in mind. So, you created a product, and for a certain period of time, you don't need to promote it. In the beginning, you don't have to invest in promotion. This doesn't go for all projects, but not all of them need a boost right away. So, where can you find traffic? On social networks and on platforms like YouTube, there is traffic, but it's not 100% what we need. Unless you have the support of other networks such as MDK, IGM, communities that can recommend your content to their subscribers because they can. Then you will see positive growth from these guys. But now it makes sense to look for growth on platforms. The biggest growth, of course, will come from similar bloggers who have a very close project to yours. So people are already receiving content, they're getting content, and they see yours and it's better, and they come and watch your content. Right now, we are experimenting with Telegram traffic. The public there is very active, very interested, and they haven't seen a lot of thematic projects yet that we see more and more of. So if you created an interesting project, then you may count on some growth from Telegram, maybe the first 200,000 subscribers. We have an example of that. It was mostly traffic from Telegram that accounted for 50,000 subscribers, and traffic from blogs accounted for about 100,000 subscribers. Working in traffic still means delegating, and this again involves motivation. If you're excited about this project, if it's your baby, it doesn't mean that your team thinks about it the same way. And it's sad because you have done a lot, you invested a lot of time, a lot of money in creating a product, and nobody watches it. It's extremely sad and disappointing. But you have to understand that people are people. They have problems with motivations, procrastinations, and sometimes the investor pushes too hard and people leave. Here, just like in life, producing any project is difficult. It's a lot of negotiations. You have to come to a common decision within the team to find a way to engage viewers. So to sum it up, how can you create a good project? It's pretty obvious, but I will say it out loud anyway. You have to come up with a good project, motivate the team, find good sources of traffic, and develop the project content so it doesn't become boring or mundane. If anybody has any questions, let's talk about it. I didn't make any examples on purpose, except for a few, because I can't name some things because of NDA. Some projects are in development. And when you're working on a corporate project, then it shouldn't be perceived as a corporate project by the public, because they prefer seeing projects from a group, from a creator, not from the business. This is also a secret I wanted to share. That's it for me. Thank you. Any questions? Yes. How would you advise promoting a huge campaign on social networks? What mistakes can be avoided and what can be done better? You can't think that everybody wants to know about you. This is, we're living in a time where the brand has to come to the people. Consider the preferences and demands of the audience. What you do is an additional activity of the brand. So you're giving additional value to the public. For example, let's take social projects. They're done not for the audience, but as an ego boost. So it's not perceived as a sales pitch, as playing with their emotions. What about dislikes? You say it's something bad, but they also mean that people have watched the video. Can you comment on that? I didn't say it was bad. I understand how the platform works. And in terms of the platform, it doesn't matter if you get a like or a dislike. Any kind of feedback is good. But you, as the creator, are happier when you get less dislikes. It's just emotional. Everybody likes it when people tell them good job, you're great. But when people say, no, this is stupid. But a million dislikes is a lot. You really have to earn that. For example, Ivan Guy had a video which had the most dislikes on YouTube. But now it's not on top anymore. There are new records that have been set. But at a certain point in time, it influences project growth because every blogger is a project. Only he is the investor, the producer, and the creator all in one. Every person who enters the platform, whether it's just an individual, a group, or a business, they have to perceive themselves as one person. But when you're not alone, you have a lot more opportunities. You can do many good projects instead of risking everything, putting everything on the line. But in any case, you do risk a lot when you create a project. Hello, Sergey. My name is Dmitry. My question is the following. You said that you should experiment as much as possible, try something new. But what if a lot of experiments would lead to the fact that your subscribers will just come from all over? You will get 2 million subscribers, each interested in their own niche. I didn't mean that you should experiment often. I just meant that you should think ahead, even if you think that you're doing fine right now, because you will come to a turning point in your project sooner or later. Right now, it's not bad to have different formats on your channel. Just imagine. Your channel focuses only on one topic, and you have videos only once a week. You can't make them any more frequent. And your subscribers like this. Channels like Sinduk, Kliklak, guys who are on top, all of these guys from St. Petersburg. And let's take gamers. Eugen. He experiments a lot with his content because he earned his subscribers' trust, and he can give them more than they are used to. So he expands his audience. But there is another obstacle here. You may start trying to get too big of an audience and not achieve this goal. So if you can't afford to make a lot of good content, just make less, but keep the content good. And you will experiment in the process as your team grows, as your understanding of what you can do grows. But the most important thing is not to think that once you succeeded, everything will stay that way. No, it won't. Speaking from your experience, what gives the highest return? Creating your own content or asking professionals? Well, it depends on what you mean. If you're creating a project, you're still working with professionals. Well, many bloggers started from cheap equipment, cheap cameras, but then they create their own production teams or studios. And they work with other bloggers. What do you think? What is more financially viable? And what leads to the fastest growth in subscribers? If we go back to the presentation, we can see that it has been 12 years that YouTube has helped us watch these videos. But this led to changes in subscriber demand. And they have a certain taste now for things that are done well. For example, many bloggers use Sony Alpha, good equipment, and people are used to that. It's a good equipment, it's a good investment, this equipment, so that the picture is good, the sound quality is high, and then you don't need production. Projects without bloggers, for example, corporate projects, marketing projects, let's take Transformator. They have big teams who are working on these projects. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how much money they will get. This is a totally different business model. They know that these subscribers are worth a lot. They know that they invested in people, in equipment, but they will get their money back. And not every YouTube project can afford that. Game projects, most of them are aimed at a younger audience, and they don't always have the disposable income. And we all live in Russia. The Russian market has its unique features. As for advertisers, if you're not unique, why would they pay you? And another question. What about subscriber trust? What is the most popular, most efficient? Something simple or something that looks expensive, like it was made with professional equipment? Does the audience feel, does it identify more with these regular guys? I know what you mean. But now, even if we take Marmok, who is a professional designer, his channel is on par with regional television channels. He does a lot for creating his content. He doesn't have any problems with trust. It depends on what you can do about your readiness to create content. It's not about how much money you've spent, it's about what you've created. If the video that you made is funny, interesting, and well made, then why won't anybody subscribe? Of course they will. This is how it works. The viewers are motivated by long-term projects. he needs to know that tomorrow's content from this creator will be even better. The project has to be scalable. It should be able to go from filming on an iPhone to a good camera. But for example, if you're Cinesta and you don't care what you use to film your videos, but you know how to make them interesting, then your project is perceived differently. And you can make iPhone videos, but editing, production is a huge part of it. Filming is not the only thing there. But it's great when you can provide for good content, quality design. So if you are a superhero and you do everything right away, still the the audience should know that you're not perfect. So for example, you do everything perfectly, but you don't have a lot of subscribers. So people root for you, they subscribe. Or for example, you just made iPhone videos, but now you say that you bought a cool camera and people begin to root for you because of that. I have a question about when you should pull the plug, about closing the project. When does this time come? After the first dislike or when? This is an easy decision to make. Dislikes, they influence this to a lesser extent. It's more of a financial aspect. So if you're using your own money, then it becomes pretty obvious. You know that you shouldn't be doing this. But when you're using other people's money, it's a bit more difficult. But you just total up how much it costs to produce, how much it costs to get subscribers. You look at monetization. Okay, so if you know that it will take you 6 months to get your money back, that's fine. But if it will take you 2 years, and if you don't have the audience for it, or if you realize that you are maybe ahead of your time, if your project is not in demand, so there are projects, for example, that were made really well, but there wasn't an audience for that. Now there is. There's a lot of factors that come into play here that will make the project go forward. So the only criteria is if you have the motivation to take it farther. If it can bring you money, great. Let's take Eugen. For a long time, he didn't have a lot of subscribers and he was going to quit, get a job. This happens, but now everything is great. He is one of the most trusted gamers on the platforms, and that's the secret. Either you do it, or you think about how to get your money back or how to make money another way. Thank you. Oftentimes, a channel creator, for example, makes car reviews, and then suddenly he got interested in Apple and starts talking about it. And I noticed that the subscribers become angry and they demand the old content. What do you think? Is it more effective to expose your subscribers to a variety or to specialize? Maybe you could have different subchannels. I did reply to this in part. It's pretty difficult to get a diverse audience under an umbrella of one channel. So if you will release videos in many formats, the viewers don't really have an expectation of what to receive, and it won't work for you. So it's unlikely that you will be as successful as Senduk. If you succeed, great. It's a great example of a multi-format channel. I would recommend starting out with one topic, get a core of subscribers that will bring you the views, and then give them something new, monitor the situation, get feedback, find out if they liked it or not. Clicks, likes, they show you if the audience likes it or not. Your job is to try new things, develop the projects that the audience wants to see in the future. Otherwise, you will waste your time, and the potential that your project had will not be implemented in any way. So start from something, get a core group of subscribers, and start working. Thank you. That's a pretty specific question. There are different criteria for different topics. If you already see similar channels, you can analyze how many subscribers they have. So you know what the capacity is for this genre. So for example, if the most popular bloggers have 3 million subscribers, then the most you can count on is 4.5 million subscribers. Because many people don't subscribe, they just view. You just by observation, you know this. The most popular channels have twice as many views as subscribers. Channels that are not live have a lot of subscribers, but not a lot of views. Your job is to look at these live projects that try to engage the audience, that have the potential to grow. You can't really focus on this is хорошо, 500 plus, because they already reached their potential. We know what their limits are. 5 million subscriber for a video with funny videos, for a channel with funny videos. But it's a really simple genre. It's entertainment. We have a need for entertainment, communication. So how do you know that you have reached the limit? When the growth stops, you'll know that it's the limit. So if somebody better comes along and everybody leaves, that means you made a mistake and you didn't get better yourself. If you think that you reached bottom, wait till somebody knocks on the floor. It's not like you create content in just one topic and you have no other interests. There are channels with different content, they just mix different genres. I made some examples already, so there are gamers with educational content. So they create new content in this game-focused channel. This engages new viewers. As the show goes on, you gain new ground, and your channel begins to really live. When you really realize how scalable, until you realize the scalability of your project, you won't know limitations. There really are no rules on this platform other than the rules of the community and the legislation of the Russian Federation, just because we are in Russia. And what do you think of the audience being spoiled by the brand? So there are channels the brands who have their own channels. The audience is spoiled. They say that you owe us. Are there any limits on what they're owed, what we should do? There are no limits. You should do this. You owe it to the audience. Because I'm watching your video and you're making money off of me. I'm your viewer. And if you won't create the content, then I will unsubscribe. And if your content is bad, then I will tell everyone how horrible you are. But if you represent a brand, it's better not to say that. Just create content. I understand, that's fine. Every creator has responsibilities to his groups. So you just take it. You don't need to take anything, you create content. There is healthy criticism, for example, 30% of it, but then the other 70% is just horrible. People in a bad mood who are taking out their bad mood on you. Yeah, you just take it or you block these comments. It's time for the next presentations. We can continue discussing this in person. Thank you very much, Sergey.
So we're here at 4C, we caught Sergey in the hallway and would like to ask him some questions. Sergey, who are you, what are you doing?
My name is Sergey Streltsov, I represent Yoola company, I'm head of content, I make projects for YouTube.
That's great. Tell us, what was the very first game you've ever played? Do you remember it?
Oh yes, of course, it was Prince of Persia. Yeah, and I was a big fan of it, and then some dandy games and stuff. And the first computer game I was fan. I was a big fan of Fallout 2. The second part was huge. Yeah.
So is that your favorite one, or which is your favorite game to date?
Oh, now I don't have much time to play games, but I work with the YouTubers and I know what games they are playing, and I'm a big fan of what wargaming guys are doing, and hope someday I'll have more time to play tanks. Yeah, I like tanks a lot. So you can see I am wearing kind of tanks pants. So it's big respect for Wargaming company.
Yeah, it feels great, thanks. But please tell us, sorry, how did you start in the gaming industry? What led you to this job?
Oh, it was a long story. Actually, I was heading the developing of one game that became best mobile game 2010, and it was Global Mobile Awards. We won with the game The Last City, and so that was my period of time. I was interested in gaming, so now I think maybe time changed, maybe I changed myself, but anyway, now it's not about gaming for me, but it's it's massive, indeed, and it's really gathers a lot of people, and we make projects also for gaming companies. So anyhow, I still in gaming.
Yeah, the industry has gotten pretty big. What's your favorite thing about it today?
I don't know. Maybe you can ask some more specific question.
Well, basically, the gaming industry as a thing, as a phenomenon, has gotten huge, has gotten appreciated by lots of people around the world. Why do you think it is? What makes it dear to your heart personally?
It's fun, and it can be a great opportunity to become a hero instead of workout or any kind of other activities. Or it is a real sport right now. So that's why I think people always were interested to become heroes and sportsmen, and that's why it gathers so much people, and there are crowds on game fests and so on.
That's fair enough. But are there things that maybe irritate you or make you mad or sad in the state of game development today?
Oh no, I'm not so into game development today, so maybe I'm not the proper person to be asked this question. I don't know. I'm trying to be helpful, indeed, but
But speaking of technology, do you think like in the nearest future or maybe in a 10 years time there will be a breakthrough technology that you feel may be a game changer?
yeah, of course. And we now see how gaming process changes, and virtual reality and augmented reality becomes more and more popular and more detailed. So I think when we can feel what we see, there will be a huge change in game development and in gaming process as well.
Kind of a no-brainer question, but what do you think is more important, gameplay, graphics, or storyline, or maybe a combination of some?
I think the storyline rules, but the graphics really helps us to enjoy the story because we see it real, and now we it became more regular that games have really great graphics. So if you have cool story but you don't have realistic picture, it doesn't work. I don't think it's just for me; it's for everyone. But anyway, there are lots of indie games that doesn't have any cool graphics, and it is painted in paintbrush. So and it's really interesting to play. But I think there is a theory actually that we are living in computer simulation. So if it is true, then our games will become more and more detailed as we can see all around us. So maybe you are a computer simulated non-player character. So maybe I am. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we may glitch out as well, but hope we don't. But if you say had absolute creative freedom and no financial or creative restrictions to create any kind of game you'd like, what kind of game would it be, you feel?
I don't know. It's a very hard question. I prepared the presentation for this, how to create projects, and that's the most important and the most complicated question I have. If you have no limits, what will you do? I don't know. It's too hard to answer. I will make what I know and what I'm interested in. So it's for anyone works.
Fair enough. What do you think about St. Petersburg?
Oh, it's a great city. I like to be here and I like to visit it from time to time.
What about foresee this conference?
I hope there will be a lot of people and we'll discuss very interesting things. And I saw a lot of interesting speakers in the list, in the speakers list. So it can be really helpful and interesting to attend.
What was the best question you were asked so far before the conference,
It was
if any?
What will I do if I have no limits to do it? It was the most interesting question for me, and it will become the most interesting question for my life.
I guess it got you thinking, huh? What would you ask yourself then, if you were interviewing yourself on the topic? What was the thing that would make you open up?
I think these guys who creates games, the guys who create games are the most powerful now because they can influence, they have the influence for youngsters, and it's our future, and the relationships between game developers and game players are very tender. So if you make small mistake, they will help you to improve it. If you make big mistake, they will destroy you. So it's big opportunity and big responsibility. So they're cool. I think developers are real great guys.
That's absolutely true. Any particular presentation you're looking forward to? Which one would you like to listen to most?
I like to attend most of new media guys, and but especially I'm interested in Roberto Panchvidze's presentation, so I'd like to visit his deck.
Great. I hope you like it, and I hope you make the game of your dreams someday. Thank you very much.
Maybe.